Becky's afternoon off. The trains in North America are really useful, just like the ones on Sodor. The grade crossings don't have gates that swing out to stop engines to let cars and trucks go by, but instead, cars wait at the gates to let the big trains go by, like they let Amtrak go by with their trains as they go up and down the line. BNSF is the biggest freight railroad in the United States. The headquarters are located in Fort Worth, Texas, as the engines can be really useful by pulling freight cars of where they need to go. There are tank cars, hopper cars, box cars, and more. Sometimes hopper cars can be open, and sometimes they can be covered. For whatever products they need, they can be really useful, just like the railroad cars on Sodor. Instead of a brake van, the big diesel engines use a special end-of-train device that flashes at the end of every train. But just because steam locomotives are obsolete doesn't mean they don't work on certain railways. Freight trains use diesel locomotives, which are more efficient because they don't use coupling rods and pistons like the diesels on Sodor. They use traction motors instead, and the ball bearings make the train go way faster. There is no firebox in the locomotives. They use a special motor called a prime mover. CSX has engines called AC-44CW locomotives, like all engines do, which have lots of horsepower, and it makes the train go way faster. Not only does big engines like CSX haul freight like this every day, but they also pull lots of cars all the time. Sometimes they pull 100 cars, and that sure is a lot. Via Rail is just like Amtrak. It has coaches which are yellow and blue, because this train is located in the next country over, Canada. The official languages people speak are English and French. One day, Becki was pulling freight cars of cardboard boxes. They were full of lots of 3D printed toys for the Sodor High School. The train was really long with 21 cars, and Becki steamed along. The grade crossing gates went down, and the car waited at the gates, and Becki steamed over the crossing. Mr. Cakester was waiting for Becki in the yard. "I would like you to collect a train of hazardous materials tomorrow morning," said Mr. Cakester. "They're very fragile, so be careful." "Yes, sir," said Becki. "Percy, James, and Toby," Sir Tom Met said, "be really useful today." "Yes, sir," they said. "Thank you for telling me that," he said. And after Becki was uncoupled from her freight cars, she steamed off to collect her passenger train. Early the next morning, Becki gathered the other engines in Tidmouth sheds, and she had a silly idea. "I can sing a song!" "What, sing it?" said Alexia. "Do, do, 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 do. "Nice song, Becki," Alexia said. "I love it. Thank you," said Becki. I love it too. Being really... I like that song, Dwee, said Becki. I do too, said Dwee. Becki smiled, and we sing... Do, 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 do. Do 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 Mr. Cakester was buying some fruit at the fruit stand when he heard an extraordinary song. Enough singing is enough! Bellowed Mr. Cakester. Sorry, sir, Becki said. Don't worry, said Mr. Cakester. I'd like you to start fresh by pulling a train today. Yes, sir, said Becki. She was excited. And Becki was refueling her boiler at the water tower. And she steamed out of the shed. Before long, Becki saw her freight cars and she buffered up. And she steamed out of the yard. I enjoy pulling freight cars, Becki said, because Eine kleine Nacht music was written by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, which means a little night music in German. She loved it for herself. A serenade allegro played in her head. Then she began to sing again. I'm Becki. I pull the train. Freight cars full. I am doing my best. Freight cars are full of lots of stuff. They're full of materials. I am a woman train. I am a woman train. A woman train. A woman locomotive. Woman train going round down the bend. Switching tracks is really useful. Woman train. I am really useful as I pull the train through the tunnel. And she steamed down the line. Becki sang as she went over the crossing. This is my afternoon off, Becki said. And the freight cars rolled over the bridge. Then there was trouble. A coupling broke. What in the world? Becki said. I didn't know I broke a coupling. And she ground to a halt. And the freight cars rolled up with no engine. The hopper cars were in front and the other cars were in rear. Then there was trouble. The freight train started to go backwards. Bust my buffers, Becki said. And then the train went faster down the grade and right through the station. It was a long train. And it went faster and faster. The rail cars rolled over the bridge at a speed of nearly 100 miles an hour. the same speed the Amtrak Acela goes when it goes from Boston to Washington, D.C. Whee! Cheered the guard. This is fun! Then he jumped off the brakeman to take a seat at the station, and the freight cars went faster and faster and faster. Meanwhile, CJ was killing time for her train when she noticed something. There's runaway cars coming towards me! And she was right! The freight cars went faster and faster! Bust my buffers! CJ said. I've never seen a train moving with no engine before! The brake van's in front! Can you save my train? Becki said. I can save it more. The coupling is broken, my dear! Snapped CJ. I have to catch it, so you slow down and I'll meet you later, okay? Meanwhile, Mincy was pulling a freight train of 31 cars. She was enjoying herself. I enjoy pulling goods trains, said Mincy. But the brake van in front was leading the train as the cars went faster and faster. Mincy was shocked. Oh my goodness, I should stop! Got them, CJ said. Mincy was horrified. I should stop, she cried. Mincy's driver threw on the emergency brakes, and CJ did the same thing, but it was too late. Fire began to rage. When Becki saw the wreck, she was horrified. Luckily, no one was hurt, but CJ remained upright in the sod, and Mincy had toppled over on her side. I'm stuck, she said. I'll have these engines out in no time, said Becki. Before long, Becki pulled CJ back onto the rails. She huffed and puffed her hardest as CJ began to move sadly back onto the tracks. Thank you, Becki, she said. I'll be saved soon too, said Mincy. After the wreck was cleaned up, the train track was reopened and the engines were doing their work by pulling freight cars and coaches of where they need to go. There were big freight cars, little freight cars, and all the engines did their work. And passenger trains can be useful too, while women engines in front can lead the way of where they need to go to be really useful. But next time there's a derailment or collision, just call us, and you'd be happy to help us in the next episode in the future.